So we're pausing for 1 week, and we'll kick off No Spectators next week because I feel burdened to share a passage with you today. And so like Pastor Andrew said, last week we had the opportunity to hear from Pastor Aaron the vision for our church for the next year. Be more of who we've always been than we've ever been before. But today I want to just pause and just cast some specific vision for our campus. And I want you to go on a journey with me today because we're going to kind of meander through a little bit. We're going to bob and weave a little bit, and I just want you to hang with me. And so I want to start by telling a story. I don't know if you knew this, but growing up, I was in a gang. I was. And we were a pretty tough group. You didn't want to mess with us because we'd mess you up. We would jack you up we were into some pretty rough stuff. So you didn't want to encounter us. We owned the creeks of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, like we owned them, like we were in charge of them. So if you need a golf ball, we got you. We got thousands of these things. You need a spear? I just found one last week. You need a guy who's an expert at a 6-speed bike? Got that person for you. We were legit. We were a serious gang. Now, let's be honest. This gang was comprised, this was the park that we lived in. We took ownership of this place. We were proud of our community. This was our ground. This was our turf. And if some rival gang wanted to try to push us out of this park, wasn't going to happen, Andrew, because we're the bad rats. That's what we called ourselves. The bad rats are into bad things and we will mess you up. You come into this park, you're going to have problems with us. We thought we were awesome. I know this is the stupidest thing you've ever heard in your entire life. But the reality is, it was the bad rats because it was Brian and Dustin, Roy and Tim. We were a gang, and we would spend all of our time in this creek, exploring the community, riding our bikes around, collecting anything we could find. I really did find a spear one time. I did, Brittany. I was proud of this thing. And the reason I bring this up is because we took a sense of ownership of this park. This was our ground. This was our place. This was where we spent all of our time. And so we felt a sense of ownership over this place. And I know it sounds stupid, but I actually really think God wants us to feel that same kind of ownership over our city. He wants us to feel the same kind of ownership that the bad rats had over this park, Dennis Civilly Park in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. He wants us to feel that same thing for our communities. He wants us to care deeply about the state of our city. So much so that he says in Jeremiah 29, verse 7, "Seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I've carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper." See, there is a symbiotic relationship between the state of the people and the state of the city. There's no getting away from it. It's why we have to deeply care, enough to pray, enough to give our best, enough to bring the light of Jesus into the communities we find ourselves in. And just think about some of the things that we've seen just in our backyard. I don't know if you've realized this, but for 2 Sundays on the First and Main Green, the exact place that we had our baptism service a couple weeks ago, there were these anti-Jewish demonstrations happening. There was conflict happening right in the heart of our city. This was a big deal. And then you think about the Christmas market last December. You can get your photo taken with Santa. You can also get your photo taken with Krampus, who is a literal devil. I've never heard of this before. Merry Christmas, here's my picture with the devil. This is the world we find ourselves in. And that's to say nothing of the fact that the east side of Cleveland is known as the church planter's graveyard. It is so difficult to plant a church in this area that they give it this name. That's crazy, right? But this is where we live. And it might seem near impossible to usher in a harvest of change in a world like this. And yet the truth is, harvest never comes easy because harvest is hard work. It's why the big idea I wanted to share with you today is this. It's something I've been sitting with for a while. This is the idea. The harvest only happens for those who hold their ground. The harvest only happens for those who hold their ground. And it comes from this Old Testament story that I came across recently. It's 2 verses in the Old Testament. I'm reading through, I come across this in my daily Bible reading, and for whatever reason, it stops me in my tracks. Didn't exactly know what to do with it, but I've spent some time with it, and it's about a guy who is known for holding his ground. So, does anyone here know about Shammah, son of Agi? Anyone? Gary? Well, I told you about him. That's why you know. Anyone know about Shammah, son of Agi? See, I wouldn't expect that, even if you're a Bible scholar, which I know some of you are. I'm surprised Todd didn't know. But the reality is this guy is mentioned in 2 verses in the entire Bible. That's it. That is all we know about him. And yet in these 2 verses, we learn a lot about this mighty man of God. You see, it's a footnote, Shammah's life, at the end of David's life. So in 2 Samuel 23, this is where the 2 verses are. You read the last account of David's life, his last breath before he dies. And then the next thing you see is a listing of all of the mighty men of God who served under David's lead. And then you get to Shammah in 2 Samuel 23, verse 11. You can see the verse on the screen. It says, next in rank in this mighty men list was Shammah, son of Agi from Harar. One time the Philistines gathered at Lehi and attacked the Israelites in a field full of lentils. The Israelite army fled, but Shammah held his ground in the middle of the field and beat back the Philistines. So the Lord brought about a great victory. Now, the first thing we can learn about Shammah is found in his name. His name in Hebrew means desolation, waste, ruin. It can also mean God is there. Isn't that crazy? This is what his name means. And so even in the moments when you feel like life is falling apart because you've unexpectedly lost your job, maybe because you wrecked your car, maybe because you've had to sit by and watch a family member continue to ruin their life, and you feel like God couldn't be farther away. You feel like God has abandoned you. The truth is God has never been closer than in that moment. Psalm 34:18 gives us this assurance. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. So it's in the desolation, the waste, the ruin. That is the moment when God draws near. This is when he reaches down to lift you up out of the pit. Even in your worst circumstances, even in your worst nightmare, God is there. That is what Shammah's name means. God was also there for the ancient Israelites, even though they were constantly at war with the Philistines. And these Philistines, they had this habit of swooping in and stealing the Israelites' harvest. And the Israelites couldn't do anything to stop them. They were powerless. And they had to watch as these Philistines stole their harvest again and again and again. And so one time in particular, the Philistines, they come to steal all of the harvest from this lentil field, which I don't know how many of you are familiar with lentils. I have never thought about lentils so much in my life. But in this lentil field, they wanted to steal the harvest. And that would have been a big problem because this was the supply of food for the Israelites. It would have been impossible for them to feed everyone. And it's not like they could just replace the harvest either. You can't just go to the grocery store and get some more milk. I mean, lentils take 4 months to grow at least. And so this attack from the Philistines, it would have been a major blow to the Israelites. It could not be allowed to happen. Someone had to do something. Someone had to stand up to them. And yet what we read is that all of the Israelites flee. They run away in fear. These trained soldiers, this is the army. This is not even just private citizens. The army, these trained men who are supposed to be ready for any adversary, they run. They abandon their harvest. I don't know if you've ever been there before. Have you ever been in a spot where you allowed fear to cause you to make some really bad choices? See, maybe you've made compromises because you were afraid of losing a relationship. Maybe you took credit for someone else's idea because you were afraid of becoming irrelevant. Maybe you took out an extra credit card because you were afraid you weren't going to be able to pay your bills. These Israelites let fear move them off of their ground, and it nearly cost them the entire harvest. But Shammah, son of Agi, he decided he was not going to let that happen. So in 2 Samuel 23:12, Shammah held his ground in the middle of the field and beat back the Philistines. So the Lord brought about a great victory. One person out of all of Israel decided that he was going to stand up to the Philistines. He refused to let them steal their harvest. And he did it because he understood that the harvest only happens for those who hold their ground. And look, I can promise you, Shammah did not think he was going to be successful in this effort. He is one man against the multitude. He didn't think he was going to live. I guarantee you, he thought this was his last stand. But he decided, I don't care if I die. If I die, I die. But these Philistines are not stealing our harvest again. I'm not going to let it happen. And it was through Shammah's stubborn faithfulness that God brought about a great victory that day. And that's an important distinction to make. Shammah didn't win the victory. God did. It was God that brought along a victory that day. He won the battle. Shammah's job was to be available, to be steadfast, to be faithful. God's job was to deliver the harvest. So by holding his ground and looking to divine help to show up and fight for him that day, Shammah was safeguarding his entire community's livelihood. He was protecting all of his people. One man, one person took a stand on behalf of his entire city, on behalf of his entire community, and God brought about a victory that day. And it was all because he trusted God to do something about it. So as a result, Shammah is promoted. He's made one of the three, which is essentially the highest tier in David's mighty men that you could reach. He became a really big deal. And it was all because he had the same heart as his leader. He had the same heart as David, who was the one person in all of Israel who wouldn't back down to a giant. Everyone else cowered in fear, but David held his ground and he faced the giant head on because he believed that God was going to show up. But here's the question. What are you trusting God for right now? Where is it that you've taken your stand? Where is it that you found yourself faced with adversity and you are trusting God to show up? It could be breakthrough in your mental health. It could be breakthrough in your physical health. It could be that you have reached this fork in the road and you don't know what to do, you don't know what to decide, you don't know where to go. It could just simply be that you are in a wilderness season right now. And you don't know why God has you there, and you don't know how long it's going to last. What I want to say to you today is whatever it is you're trusting God for, a harvest is coming. Breakthrough is on its way. The seeds of faithfulness you have planted, they are already starting to sprout. They're already starting to grow. And so whatever that is, you have to have stubborn faithfulness. You have to have the kind of faithfulness that doesn't buckle, that doesn't yield, that doesn't allow what you see to determine the stand you take. Because it is only through continuing to be faithful, continuing to fight for your harvest, that you get to see the harvest fully realized. You've got to hold your ground, even when you don't see anything happening. You've got to hold your ground, even when you're discouraged, even when you're intimidated, even when you're overwhelmed. Hold your ground. Stand firm. It is God's job to deliver the harvest. Your job is to hold your ground. Deuteronomy 16:15 tells us this. It's God who blesses you with bountiful harvest and gives you success in all your work. So we plant the seeds. We water the soil, but only God controls the growth. He controls the harvest, not us. And yet, at the same time, just like Shammah, we need to be aware of the fact that we have an enemy that wants to steal our harvest. John 10:10, Jesus tells us this. He says, the thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. Now, our enemy isn't the Philistines. Our enemy is a spiritual enemy. His name is Satan. And I can guarantee you, he wants to rob you of everything that is rightfully yours. He has one purpose: to discourage you, to intimidate you, and to steal your harvest. But he's not able to do it if you refuse to give up your ground. If you will hold your position and hold your ground, he will not be successful in stealing your harvest. It's true for our personal lives. It's also true for our community right here in Fellowship City Hudson. You see, this campus started with a conviction. We believed that Hudson is where God was calling us to plant a campus. This is why Andrew and Kimberly started hosting people in their home, watching the live stream from back at Fellowship City Chagrin. And then they'd have conversations every week. This is why Andrew would go out and buy donuts, even on the Sundays when he was pretty sure there wasn't going to be anyone there that day. He was planting seeds. This was an act of faith. The first Easter after Kim and I moved here, we gathered our little home group together and we had an Easter brunch together. And then we went up and down First and Main to all the businesses giving out these gift boxes filled with Easter treats. We called it Brunch and Bless. And the whole purpose of this is we wanted to be a blessing to our community. We were sowing seeds. This was an act of faith. And then we started to outgrow their home and we moved here to the Barlow. We started preparing for our grand opening. And we went out all throughout the community. We gave out water bottles at the summer music nights. We gave away 1,000 cowbells at the Hudson High School game. We bought every customer's drink at Heartwood for one day. It's because we wanted to show that we are for Hudson. We are for our community. We were planting seeds, as many as we possibly could, because this was an act of faith. And so on our grand opening, we had 196 people here that day. It was awesome. It was such a great day. 15 people raised their hand to make a commitment for Jesus. And it just seemed so easy. We started thinking, we're going to have to shift to 2 services. This thing is popping off. And so then at the beginning of the next year, I was asking God for a word for the year. I do this every year. And that particular year, I felt like the word he gave me was harvest. So I'm thinking, okay, at the end of this year, we're going to be overflowing. Because when I think of harvest, I think of gathering in all the goods. And yet what I had to learn over time is that harvest, yes, is gathering in, but harvest is also hard work. Harvest takes longer than you want it to. It requires a sense of tenacity that sometimes you don't even know if you really have. And what we had to learn is that a harvest always takes longer than you want it to. Are there any farmers in the room? Anyone grow up on a farm? Okay, we got Rochelle back there. Who else? Anyone? Anna, did you grow up on a farm? Okay, well, that's fine. I was hoping for 2. Look, I didn't grow up on a farm either. My dad did. My son is obsessed with tractors right now. I don't know where that came from. But my dad, he did create this huge garden in our backyard. And when he did, I helped him to till the soil. I helped him to put down the railroad ties around the edges. And I helped him to plant the seeds and water the soil. And can I just tell you, it took forever to see anything happen. After a while, I felt like all I was looking at is dirt. All I can see is dirt. Where are the tomatoes? Where are the cucumbers? I mean, I was 13 at the time, so I get it that I have a 13-year-old's patience, but where is the results? Where's the harvest? I'm sick of looking at dirt. And sometimes, in planting a campus, sometimes it feels like all you can see is dirt. But what I've seen some of the most incredible people on the face of the planet sacrifice week in, week out, their time, finances, their energy, their heart, their testimony. We as a community have sacrificed to plant seeds, to till the soil, to put down railroad ties around the edges and water the ground. That's what we've been doing. We have set up and tore down this church every Sunday for 2 years. In the rain, in the snow, in the heat, in all of it. And we continue to do it because we believe a harvest is coming. We've given away koozies at the Twins Day Parade, canvas bags at the Hudson Farmers Market. We actually got in trouble the first time we did it because we didn't ask for permission. Didn't even think to ask permission. They said, we don't want you to do that, but come back next year and we'll let you do it for realsies. We've had days where this place was rocking. Like this past Easter, we had 136 people here and it was awesome. Baptized 6 people. It was such a cool day. We've also had days where it's felt a little empty and it's felt a little light. And yet through it all, we just continue to plant seeds. We continue to water the soil because that's what we can control. We can never control the growth. Any idea that we could is a mirage because God alone holds the harvest. So we do our part. We continue to be faithful and we trust that God is going to bring the harvest at the right time. And sometimes it feels like all you can see is dirt. I'm sick of looking at this dirt. Where's all the vegetables? Where's all the fruit? And yet every invitation, every prayer, every act of faith is a seed. And these seeds are being planted in good soil, which means in time, they will grow. Because that's how it works. That's what I want to remind you of today. There is a cause and effect relationship in the world. If you jump off a cliff, gravity says you are going to plummet to your death. I don't care if you believe in gravity. Gravity believes in you, and it will make sure this happens. You throw a boomerang, and physics says it is coming back your way. I don't care if you want it to or not. Hopefully you do. That's what a boomerang does. But then when you come to planting seeds, the same kind of thing is in play. When you plant seeds and water the soil, and you are faithful, it will inevitably grow because that's the way God set it up to work. And we've planted, I don't know if you realize this, we've planted over 30,000 seeds in the 2 years we've been doing this. That's a lot. Every direct mail piece, every invitation at a farmer's market, every cowbell, every rally towel, everything that we've done is a seed that we've been sowing all over the place, scattering as far and wide as we can to see what God is going to do with it. And Jesus said this to his disciples in John 4:35. He says, wake up and look around. The fields are already ripe for harvest. And I think if Jesus was standing here right now, which I believe Jesus is in our midst, his presence is here, he would say the same thing to us. He would say, look at what I'm doing. See the harvest that has already begun to sprout up. Look at all the ways God is working in you, through you, and around you. I mean, just consider, since our beginning, we have baptized 16 people. I think that's amazing. There are churches that wish they would baptize that many people in their lifetime. And this is not random people that have come through our doors. These are people that have been an integral part of our community. And one person in particular, this past August, her name is Olga. She's been hanging out in our orbit for a while. And she said the reason she wanted us to baptize her is because she trusts us. And I think that is incredibly sweet, because that's what we've been trying to do all along. We've been trying to earn the trust of our community, earn the trust of the people around us. And this woman, Olga, trusts us. I think that's awesome. We've had over 50 people raise their hand to make some kind of commitment for Jesus. And this is not just like David raising his hand over and over again. This isn't Josh just like, yep, I need some more of that this week. Yeah, I need another round. This is 50 different people who have said, I need more of Jesus in my life. Just back in July, we collected over 1,000 school supplies for Laura's home in 1 week. Because we're crazy. Why would someone try to even do that? But you rallied, you made this happen. It was so cool to see. Back in March, we threw an end of season party for the Western Reserve girls basketball team. It was so much fun. In fact, one of the girls came to church that Sunday as a result. 5 of them stood on this stage and we prayed for them and commissioned them out as they were graduating from school. 2 of them got baptized on Easter. I shared about this last week, Nuala and Glory. They're like dear friends of ours now. This is what God is doing through this one open door at the Western Reserve. We had 3 people go on mission trips this year. There are more going next year. We had 3 couples just from our campus, and 2 of them are right here. 2 of those couples are here today that got married and went through premarital counseling. This is what God is doing in our midst. He's working it. It's starting to sprout. It's starting to grow. And I can promise you this, Satan wants to steal our harvest. But the question is will we be like Shammah? Will we hold our ground? Will we continue to fight for what we've been working for the past 2 years? Will we have stubborn faith that says, I am not moving till I see something come out of this dirt? Because it's already starting to happen. But sometimes if you're focused on the wrong thing, you miss what God is doing. And I've been just as guilty of that as anyone. See, the harvest only happens for those who hold their ground. The harvest isn't for the faint of heart. It's hard work. It takes longer than you want it to. It requires more resilience than you think you have sometimes. And yet in the end, it's worth it. Because Galatians 6:9 tells us this, let's not get tired of doing what's good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. There's a harvest of blessing that is coming your way. That's how it's set up. You sow faithfulness, you sow righteousness, you sow obedience, and eventually God is going to show up for you. He's going to provide for you. It's going to sprout up. You pick what you plant. And so the reality is we have to remember that there is a harvest of blessing coming. And yet the harvest of blessing, can I just tell you, it's not just for you. The harvest of blessing that is coming from all of our faithfulness, it's for our community. It's for our city. It's for the east side of Cleveland. We're not doing this just for us. We're doing this because we're taking back ground. You look at the world around us and it looks really dark sometimes. And you think, how have we come to this? The answer is found in the church. The answer is found in Jesus. And I know some of you, maybe you're feeling discouraged, like maybe God isn't coming through for you. But I'm telling you, He will be faithful to you. He takes full responsibility of the life, wholly devoted to Him. So you just be wholly devoted to Him, and He will show up. He will provide. The harvest will come your way. And I even think about our community, this campus. We live in a place that's known as the church planter's graveyard. Forget that. Let's be the exception. Let's be the anomaly. Let's prove that this is a place where churches grow. This is a place where healthy churches can flourish. That's the opportunity in front of us. This city, this world needs us to rise to the occasion. It was true in Shammah's story, where he held his ground on behalf of his entire community. And we need to follow his lead. But even beyond that, fast forward to the New Testament, you find Jesus, who held his ground to the extent that he would lay down his life for everyone, for all of humanity. He held his ground by dying for all people altogether. And so, will you join me in standing? Will you join me in holding our ground, following Shammah's lead, following Jesus' lead? And we refuse to move until something comes out of the dirt. Our job is to stand firm. God's job is to bring the harvest. So let's stand together, because a harvest of blessing is coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so if you're not already standing with us, I want to invite you to start standing with us today. If you are standing with us, I just want to say thank you. It is such a privilege and a joy to stand alongside of you. I truly love you. It is such a joy for my wife and my son and I to do life with you. We don't take it for granted that we get to do this with such incredible people. But if you're not standing with us, today is the day to start. See, this campus, I see us as a bunch of mad scientists. We're risk takers. We try things. If it works, cool, do more of that. If it doesn't, fine, do something different. We want to be risk takers more and more. And in fact, one of the ways that I want to sow more seed, one of the ways that we can step out and to be risk takers this fall is by putting on an event right in the heart of Hudson. And we're going to call it the Fall Wars Festival. This Fall Wars Festival, it's going to have all kinds of fun things like games, giveaways, treats that you're only going to find in a galaxy far, far away. And yes, it is intentionally themed after Star Wars. I admit that. And some of you love that and some of you don't. And that's okay. I need all of you. Because the reality is at this, thank you so much, Britton. Freaking masterful. So, there's no coming back from that. There is. So the whole purpose of this is we're starting a series in October called Defense Against the Dark Side. It's a series that is addressing the darkness in our world. And we want to be the light that shines brightly in the world. And so if you love Star Wars, I need you to get your best Star Wars attire. Nick, I don't know if you got any, but I need you to have a stormtrooper suit. But come dressed in your Star Wars best. If you're not into it, come help with setup and tear down. Come help with the games. Come help interact with people. Because I know this seems stupid, and maybe it just seems fun or funny or whatever, but it's more than that. There is a weight and a significance to doing this Fall Wars Festival. We want to be light in the darkness. We want to continue to go out into our community and bring a sense of joy and fun to the people who maybe are struggling right now. Because C.S. Lewis says joy is the serious business of heaven. And maybe there's a space for that we can help create that. We've always looked for ways that we could be a blessing to our community. This is no different. This is not just some excuse to get dressed up in Star Wars attire. So Brittany, you still have to come. This is an opportunity for us to be a blessing to the people. And we're right here in Hudson, because we're going to do it on the Clock Tower Green. October 11th, Saturday, we're creating something that's for the whole community. And so I want you to be a part of this. I want you to come help hold our ground together. I want you to come help sow some seed with me to be light in darkness. Because that's the way this works, is we do it together. That's it. And so when you came in today, you should have received a card. And it has a few different ways that you can commit to participating in the Fall Wars Festival. Choose as many as you like. But then as you leave, David is going to have a basket. I want you to stick that card in that basket as you leave. It's going to take all of us working together. It's going to take all of us to try to create an experience that maybe creates a little bit of light in the darkness, right in the midst of our hometown. But more than anything, I want to just encourage you. Don't get tired of doing what's good. Maybe you feel weary today. Maybe you've tried to be faithful and it doesn't feel like it's getting you anywhere. Don't allow evil to settle in your heart. Don't let evil overcome you, but overcome evil with good. We will reap a harvest of blessing if we refuse to give up our ground. And so in the moments when you want to throw in the towel, in the moments when you want to tap out and throw up your hands and say, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, hold your ground. It's not time to quit. If you're alive and you're breathing, you still have to hold your ground because there is a harvest God wants to bring in your life, and you don't want to miss it because you tap out too soon. It's already starting to grow. It's already starting to materialize, and you don't want to miss it. Stand firm. See what's rightfully yours and trusted to you. Don't underestimate the difference one person can make. You are one person with the power of God who can be mighty in this world. Shammah was one person who brought victory for his whole city, for his whole community. And that can be you. You are one person with the power of God who can change things. Don't ever become so pessimistic that you can't believe something like that. Otherwise, why live? Why exist? If your life can't count, if your life can't make a difference, why even try? I'm here to tell you, you make more of a difference than you can even imagine if you will allow yourself to trust God to work through you. Can you believe that today? I want to pray for you. God, I pray for my friends in the room. I pray that they would feel that they would feel this conviction that their life has purpose, their life matters. They were created to make a difference in their world. And yes, they are one person. And yes, the problem seems so big. But you plus one person is an army. Your presence working through one person can change everything. And so today, we choose to have the faith of Shammah. We choose to have the obedience of Jesus. And we choose to hold our ground, believing that you're going to usher in a harvest of blessing in our lives, in our community's life, and in our nation's life. We will be the light in the darkness. We will be the people of God who present the world with an option that's more appealing and more beautiful and more interesting than some of the other options that are being peddled right now. Help us to be your ambassadors, your light, your love in this world. And I pray for every person who's ready to tap out today, that you give them just enough faith to hold their ground one more day, and that you would show yourself faithful to them, and that you would encourage their faith to grow. We do believe. But would you help our unbelief? We love you, Jesus. We thank you for all you're doing. We thank you for all you've done. And we thank you for what you're going to continue to do. We pray all this in your strong name, in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.